All right, thank you for that. We'll go ahead and call today's Monday, October 6th legislative session to order at 5:30 p.m. If I could please get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. For all. Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to remind our council about our shared beliefs about being open and honest this evening, and then I'll move us directly into roll call. Present.
Present. Here.
Present.
Yep. And Mr. Gibbons.
Move to excuse Dave.
Just going to ask that. All right, I have a motion for the absence of Mr. Malay. He did let us know earlier that he wouldn't be able to attend. So I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us on to tonight's agenda approval. Mr. Tripp, do you have any additions or executive sessions?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. As it sits, council, what would we like to do about the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That too passed unanimously. That'll move us on to council. Well, actually, announcements and presentations. We'll go right into the presentation for the 2026 preliminary budget. Your mic on. Mr. Tripp, did you want to start for the preliminary budget for the presentation, or did you want Tara to?
Yeah, happy to start. And Council Tara and I will be co-presenting this evening. Tara, I have the attachment I can bring up if the shared screen is enabled. Council, just by way of
Tara, you have two other people waiting in the waiting room as well. Sorry, Mr. Tripp, we had a couple others in the waiting room. I just want to make sure they got let in.
No worries.
All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. I apologize for not being able to be there in person. Thank you for the opportunity to present on the proposed preliminary 2026 budget and the selected current revenues and expenses for that proposed budget as well. Per RCW, the city is required to review the prospective revenue sources and expenses for the subsequent year in 2026 on or before October 6th. So tonight's presentation coincides with that particular schedule, during which we will walk through the proposed revenues that we've estimated thus far, and also we'll present the preliminary expenses at a macro level that we received thus far from department heads. I just want to preface this by saying that the numbers that we show tonight, they're very preliminary. We haven't had an opportunity to visit with departments and to refine them further and to get into details about what's physically capable versus what's not. But that's something that we're actually doing this week. So this evening, we're just reviewing those preliminary numbers and budget estimates and talking about different themes that we're seeing as we prepare that budget. And we welcome any questions the council might have. So Tara, I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see that particular page okay? Sorry, I'm not able to see anyone in terms of, but if you could let me know if you can see that okay, or do I need to change it?
I can see it just fine, Albert.
Okay. Council, is my audio still coming through okay?
Yeah, we got you, Mr. Tripp. You can go ahead and present.
Okay, very good. So this first part, Tara will be taking, so I'm gonna turn this over to Tara to walk through um, at a high level the various funds that the city operates, including those found in number two, talk about a bit of historical context in terms of Initiative 747, as far as how it relates to property taxes and within the state of Washington. She'll walk through the assessed value, what we're also seeing on property tax levies thus far. Number five is really more historical, as is six, just to give context, and then lastly number seven, and then I'll take it from there on the next portion of it. So, Tara, I'll turn it over to you, and let me scroll back up to the beginning of it.
Great, thank you. Right, the three main funds for the city, the current expense fund, the street fund, and the water and sewer fund. What we have done so far, the estimated revenues are revenues that we've estimated based on working with the state and the county, as well as doing historical trend analysis for those that aren't specifically defined by the state or the county for the current expense fund. The proposed expenditures are currently what has been proposed by the department leaders. We have not taken a scrub at that yet. Albert and myself will be doing that this next week, followed by the second week. And then because you can see here that it is not a balanced budget. We would be projected to be overspent by 2.9 million, which is not acceptable. And so we will need to be scrubbing that in the next coming weeks. The street fund is projected at 467,000 for revenues. And again, just as proposed, the expenses are currently 1.3 million, showing a deficit or a spend, not a deficit, a spend, an overspend on that budget, which we don't really want to do. So be working to see what we can't stream up there. Water sewer is coming in, expecting to give a positive fund balance, 11.4 in expenditures and 11.4 in revenue and 11.3 in expenditures. A couple things that we are still working on, grants and contracts are a big part of the budget specifically for the police, and we're still working that through, as well as capital projects and interfund transfers. Interfund transfers will be one of the last things that we do based on the needs of where we can transfer from funds that have funds available to support initiatives that we deem appropriate for this coming year. Questions?
And just to clarify, the street and water sewer have an existing balance,
Positive balance?
positive balance, yes, that is not reflected here for folks.
Correct,
Right.
yeah. One thing that the audited financial statements, we don't have them yet for 23 and 24. Our auditors have not yet started that, and that can impact the fund balance. So the fund balance that we will talk about for the street fund is representative of what's in Springbrook, but it has not been audited yet. And I believe there's some transfers that need to be booked that did not get booked, and that will impact that fund balance. The assessed value, the estimated 26 value is 1.2 billion. The 2025 value was 1.18 billion. So that's an increase of 1.48%, about 17.6 million. One thing that slowed down in years past, we had substantial growth in new construction, and that came down a bit in 2025. The property tax levy we've been doing the 1%, I believe, and then we have the levy lid lift that started in 2025 that will continue into 2026. And property tax values have increased in 2025, they were 3.363. And we do not have that number yet for 26 because that is what we need to decide how much we want to, the percent we want to increase our levy. And then the lid lift has already been approved as well as the bond levies. Albert, anything else you'd like to add?
Just council, we wanted to provide a global perspective. You can see there, as Tara mentioned, the various property tax levies that have been passed. We'll just draw your attention to that first column, the one that says regular levy. This is the one that it provides the basket of city services for the general fund. The 2016 bond levy is the one for the recreation center, and the 2023 bond levy is the one for the public safety campus that was recently passed. And then lastly, as Tara mentioned, the levy lid lift is expressed in this third column here. And you can see the respective revenues the city receives to and associated with each of those. We displayed it this way just to give a total cumulative value as far as the amount of revenues the city receives associated with both the regular basket of service and then things that the public has voted upon that are above and beyond that with these respective sources of funds to cover them. Unless there are any questions on that. Lastly, as Tara pointed out, the projected growth, as you know, within Washington State, we referenced above, based on the IMAN initiative, cities are limited to increasing their regular property tax by 1% annually. So based on the existing property tax the city receives, 1% of 1.7 would be approximately $17,000.37 if the city were to levy the 1% that is allowed by state law this year. But unless there are any questions about any of the material we've gone over, we'll just go to the next section.
All right, the next section on this document, Albert, will you scroll down? Thank you. This is a breakdown of our main revenue sources. Retail and sales use tax is our highest revenue source, budgeted at 3 million expected. Then we had the property taxes that we just talked about, followed by the B&O taxes. And those are the main contributors to our revenue. Any questions?
I just had one question. As far as the B&O tax, especially with, partners moving in that are selling bigger items, RVs, whatnot in the local area. Albert, have you seen an increase in our sales tax revenues going up, or any with the B&O going up?
We have saw a slight increase with regards to the sales tax increasing, and we saw that over the first quarter, kind of trailing into the beginning of the second quarter, but it started to actually level out. We haven't seen that continue. We think that might be part, though, of a larger, broader trend we're seeing statewide in terms of just sluggish sales tax growth in general. But to answer your question, yes, we did see an increase at the first quarter, trailing into the beginning of the second, but things are beginning to level out. And we're actually predicting that in 2026, sales tax revenue in general will be relatively flat.
All right, thank you.
Council, unless there are other questions on this section, I'll move on to the next one, and I'll be covering those.
I think we're good, Albert. Thank you.
Okay. So council, we just included this statute in here. It's additional background in terms of requirements relative to holding a public hearing prior to any legislative district or taxing district imposing a property tax for the subsequent year. We noted earlier, based upon an IMAN initiative back in the early 90s, a legislative or taxing district's ability to propose to levy a property tax is limited to 1% per year. We showed the calculation earlier based upon the amount the city received this year for property tax. 1% on that particular value would equate to about $17,000. But this is the statute that pertains to process as far as the city is required to hold a public hearing prior to taking action in that particular respect. Section, I'll be going over this one and the next one. Tara gave a high level of where the respective funds sit as it relates to the current expense fund, the street fund, and the 401 fund or the water sewer fund. This is a snapshot specifically at the current expense fund 001. On the left-hand column here, just want to draw your attention to this. We have a list of the various departments or services that are provided, and we also identify the revenues that we're estimating to be received in 2026, which are found under this particular column. As we were putting the budget together, we're seeking to be conservative given the economic outlook that we're hearing about and what we're seeing from our perspective. We don't expect a lot of significant growth either in the form of construction or potential permits as it relates to the national level. But having said that, as you know, we are working to create more capacity as far as water connections to try to buck that trend, if you will. to the degree there are opportunities to take advantage within the city of Airway Heights as a opportunity as it relates to having more water connections for builders to do so. That's something that we're proposing this year and we're asking for council action on. So we're hoping that that might overcome the national trend we see that's actually been occurring for the last 7 months in terms of a slowdown as far as permits, new construction, and the revenues associated with that. Sales tax revenue, we're also projecting that's going to be flat for next year as well. On the far right column are the proposed expenditures. These are the ones within the current expense fund specifically. So this is excluding the street fund, excluding also the 401 fund, water and sewer. As Tara mentioned earlier, these are very preliminary in nature. We have not had a chance to visit with departments, instruct these numbers, refine them further, just to make sure that we can get the expenses in line with the proposed revenues, which you see are listed here at 15.6 million in revenues. And right now we're sitting at about 18.6. So that's a delta of about 3.1. The final budget we hope to present certainly has to be balanced. And that's the work that we'll be doing between now and those subsequent meetings. Any questions about this particular table or what it conveys thus far?
No, I think we're good, Albert.
Okay, I'm going to move to the next one. Council, this is a more exploded view of, in particular, looking at the various funds. I will attempt to enlarge this a little bit to make it a little easier to view. So, as I mentioned, these are the various funds that the city operates. I just want to draw your attention to 3 main ones. We noted earlier the current expense fund. That's the one that we just finished talking about that has a delta of about 3.1 million. This is the one that we'll be working to refine with departments between now and the final budget. The other 2 main funds the city operates is the street fund, the 101 fund. That's the one Tara spoke of earlier. And then the 401 fund, the water sewer fund that we'll get to a little bit later down the actual list here. The street fund is reflective of the revenues and expenses that we've projected thus far. But I just want to draw your attention to some of these funds in between. I'm going to attempt to highlight them. So these are various reserve funds that are created, that have been created by the city. Some of these reserve funds are replenished on an ongoing basis, and that is as the city receives revenues on a quarterly or an annual basis, they show up and they're deposited within these respective funds. In other cases, these are funds that don't necessarily have a replenishment mechanism. And so the funds that are in there, once they are accumulated and then they're utilized, they're then exhausted. I reference that only to say that over the last couple of years, we've been using reserves to try to maintain services and in some cases to increase services. And so our focus this year as we go into the 26 budget is to minimize the utilization of reserves as much as we can. And to that end, we're seeking to set aside some modest accumulation of funds that could go into these respective funds or one of them to try to help build them up. The other funds that are located here, hotel, motel, those are 2 that are replenished on a quarterly or annual basis, just based upon revenues received from either hotel, motel taxes or admissions tax. In the city's case, very few entities collect admissions tax, so we don't see that fund being replenished. The latter 2, the Casino Impact Fund and the Kalispell Impact Fund, are 2 that are legacy funds that are left over from when the city was providing services to the Kalispell tribe. These 2 fall within that particular scenario kind of that I described earlier, in the sense of once the resources within it are exhausted, there's not a reoccurring method to replenish those. The next section here is on debt service funds. The city, earlier we alluded to the property tax associated with different special projects that the public has voted upon and asked the city to move forward with them. You see 3 here in this first column, one of which is a sewer GO from 1997, very old project. We could probably close this one out given the balance that's left in there. The aquatics one is pertaining to the recreation center when it was built. Similarly, we may close this out in a future year. And then, of course, the latter one is the Public Safety Building Debt Service Fund. And that, of course, will be closed out as the project is completed. or actually that one may remain, so that as we begin phase 2 and phase 3, there's a source or a location to deposit those funds. This next section, in terms of capital projects fund, capital improvement fund, REIT 301, the city collects the first and the second quarter real estate excise tax. This is when property is sold in the community in the form of residential homes. It could be commercial, it could be industrial buildings, but there's an increment of a tax that the city receives, and that is ultimately deposited into this respective funds. These funds are somewhat restricted in that they're usually limited to capital improvements that are identified on the city's capital improvement plan. Other than that, they're restricted for utilization. Capital Project Fund is a fund that's been established for capital projects in general that are occurring throughout the community. Just by way of illustration, different projects that are happening, be it the 6th Avenue or 10th Avenue, this project fund will swell or contract, just depending upon which projects are occurring or going on within the community itself. Usually, the funds that flow through this are neutral, budget neutral, if you will, or somewhat of a wash, because typically these projects that in the capital project fund are funded by either grants or loans. The only exception to that might be when there's a local match being provided by the city, in which case that is not budget neutral, but rather we do a transfer. And then that last fund there, Fund 316, again, it was created when the building was purchased for the public safety campus. In this next column, the enterprise funds. So these are the ones in which rates for water and sewer and capital connections are tied back to the services that are provided. That is, the rates and charges that are set for these particular funds is designed to offset the expenses. The 401 is the main operating fund. This is the one in which the main services for water and sewer are provided out of. The remainder or various reserve funds that are designed to support the water and sewer, and they vary from everything from a reserve fund for equipment, for future capital development, for short-lived assets, that is an asset that has a short life on it that will subsequently be needed to replace, money set aside in it to facilitate that on a go-forward basis. And then there is a host of various debt service funds for loans or that have been taken out in order to facilitate a project. The USDA one in particular is for the treatment plant. There's another debt service fund in terms of the 420, a sewer capacity reserve fund in 422, a water sewer debt sinking fund on 423, which is designed to just mitigate any spikes or significant fluctuation as it relates to water and sewer rate increases. This is designed to provide funding out of, to be a buffer, if you will, to modulate any proposed rate increase. And then the last two that we have are the utility deposit fund for anyone having a utility account within the city of Airway Heights. They're placing down a deposit, which is refundable, and then the transportation benefit district, which is a separate funding source for roadway improvement. Pause to see if there are any questions on this sheet. I just have one last one, and it's about the calendar. I wanted to give you a sense of milestones up ahead in terms of what's on the schedule. But are there any questions on this one?
I'm not seeing any, Albert.
Okay, thank you. So lastly, council, this is a schedule for the remaining activities on the calendar for this budget season. The one that we're working on tonight is this one, on or before October 6th, a presentation of the preliminary budget based upon preliminary revenues and expenses that we're seeing. This will be followed by a hearing on the 20th of October, where we're reviewing revenue sources in greater detail to include specific conversations around property tax revenue. I think the main question flowing from the October 20th meeting is whether or not the city desires to take advantage of that 1% property tax levy, which is allowed by state law, which would be the equivalent to about $17,000 in change, to be utilized for general fund services, those services, all services other than streets or water and sewer. Subsequent to that, in November 2nd, this is the time frame in which I present a budget letter with a proposed balanced budget. And then we have a series of public hearings that follow that with respect to the property tax levy ordinance. before it's sent to the county at the end of November. And then we're proposing a budget adoption, if not by the end of November, by the 1st of December. With that, that concludes our presentation unless there are questions or comments from the council.
Yeah, Albert, can you just speak? And I know that it happens every year as well as council, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate the difference between the 18,000,006 and the 15,6 on it, and kind of that the budget's in its preliminary. Hey, we got everything together from every department, the wish list, this, if we could fund everything under the sun, this is what we would have. Can you please speak to that for a second?
Yeah, I'll attempt to highlight this just so folks can follow along what we're talking about. So you're talking about these numbers here and the proposed expenditures here. So you're correct, Larry. Each year we start the budget process off by asking departments to identify their respective needs, both current, that is the existing operations needs to sustain the services currently being provided. We also ask departments to look ahead into the future in terms of what resources might be needed to enhance those services. And that comes in the form of a total dollar amount from the respective departments. That dollar amount, as we see it now, is $18.6 million. Having said that, though, that doesn't necessarily mean there's a budget to be able to do that. But there's a lot of value to going through that process in that it allows for not only the current needs to be identified, but it also allows needs on the horizon to be identified. And it then provides an opportunity for a prioritization of it. We may not necessarily be able to accomplish everything that's embedded within 18 million and thus have to reduce it, but it gives us the ability to be able to identify those things that we're talking about reducing and prioritize those so that as resources become available, they can then be programmed to further serve the city. On the revenues, the 15.6, as I noted earlier, we always go conservative on the revenues just to ensure that we're covering the bases with the proposed revenues themselves. At the end of the day, though, the city is responsible for providing a balanced budget. And so these conversations that Tara and I referenced earlier will include visiting with each department, determining what is essential as far as being able to provide into 2026, and what are the things that we may have to put into a parking lot and prioritize for getting accomplished at a later period, to the tune of $2.9 million. And if opportunities present themselves or grants become available between now and in the future, we'll seek to take advantage of those in order to just enhance those services accordingly. Does that help?
No, it does. And that's what I wanted to highlight there is, that for every dollar that we're being asked, we only have a certain amount coming in, and we do an incredible job as a city to backfill that through grant funding. And Ms. Munati is worth her weight in gold, just for the amount of funds that she's been able to capture for the city in grant funds, for the amount that she's actually managing. So, I like to highlight those areas just to let the community know this is where we're at, this is what we're going through, this is our process. But at the same time, that if there's anything that we can ask our state and federal, delegates for, any sort of grant out there that we think will better off the city, we are applying for those things. We are doing everything that we possibly can to do whatever we can for the city. So that's all I wanted to highlight there, Albert, and thank you for that little snapshot there.
Absolutely.
And I'll
Thanks for
just
the
say,
chance. Sorry.
yeah, and I'll just say, thank you for this. This is at this stage a much more concise and helpful document than we received in years past. Thank you, Ms. Moses, for this. And just for some, I've said this before, but some context for community members or those watching here of this is a difficult budgeting process for us every year. If you look at Liberty Lake, which is a very similar sized city, population-wise, their sales tax estimate revenue is about twice as much as ours, and their property tax is also quite higher in terms of the revenue. And they consistently have a multi-million-dollar fund balance to begin the year. So it's not easy, but it's a process we have to go through. And then what's also helpful on the finance committee when they go through the preliminary cuts is we'll get a line item budget with memo amounts of where the increases have been proposed and the reason for that, and to help us make some potential difficult decisions of okay, well, something has to be cut. And the easy things to ask for is what should stay. The hard questions are, well, what do you cut? So.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, this is why responsible growth in a city is so important. And we need to bring in, community partners, manufacturing, industrial complexes out here that can assist in growing, so that way our residents can have more and more resources. We could bring in more and more funding for Parks and Rec for everything. So this is, a huge puzzle that we put together every year, and I think our team does an incredible job for it. So I just appreciate all the department heads, and I appreciate you, Mr. Tripp, and everybody. But yeah, this is literally what we deal with on an annual basis, but it is a far cry. It's much, much better than what it was when I first came on council, almost 10 years ago. So just the fact that, what the finance committee has asked for, what we've tried to, open up as far as transparency and just to be forthcoming with our constituents here. It's really important for us to make sure that everybody knows what we're doing up here on the dais. So we just want to thank everybody. And is there any other questions from the council for Mr. Tripp or? No, okay,
Mr.
All
Chair,
right,
I had
well,
just
thank-
one other.
go ahead.
I just had one other comment. That is to say, I forgot to note that relative to those the proposed budget for next year, what we have not forgotten about the community requests or council requests that we've heard along the way, and so those are being programmed at the very top to be baked into the budget, so that there is resources available for those, while we might end up reducing something else. And so, as an illustration, we've heard from the community that there are concerns about speeding on First Avenue, and so we're trying to include funding within the proposed budget that would allow for an opportunity to work with the neighbors living along that particular street and come up with some solutions that would lead to strategies that address speeding concerns along First Avenue. Similarly, on Hayford Road, I think the council's discussed concerns about the intersection of Hayford and 10th, where motorists are going north on Hayford and trying to get into a left turn lane to go west on 10th Avenue. You have people merging from Hayford into that same lane. We talked about adding channelization. So that's another item that we're looking to bake into this budget to be accomplished, prior to any type of reductions that are occurring on other areas.
Well, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Tripp, for all your hard work and just steering the ship on this. So we definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Other questions or anything? All right. Well, we look forward to hearing back from you guys in the following weeks and seeing what we could do to trim some areas and where we need to boost others. So we appreciate it. And that'll move us on to council reports. Council.
Make sure I didn't have a hot mic there. Last week I had the good fortune to attend a Association of Washington Cities presentation on emergency management with Mr. Tripp. I found it to be very enlightening. The presentations were really well done. The information was, I think, extremely valuable, and I think it's a topic which, of course, we've been talking about a little bit here recently, especially in light of the events going on with the county and their budgeting process. And I think there is an opportunity for us as a city to take some great steps forward. I think these are steps that will have to be well thought through. I don't think we should do anything rashly, but I do think it's a timely subject. And I look forward to sharing my notes with Mr. Tripp, which we haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I look forward with the council working on this and with our department heads. It was a great experience. I thank you for that, Mr. Tripp.
All right, anybody else? Macho, Miss Morton, anything? All right, I also do not have anything. That'll move us directly into staff reports.
None for me. Catherine?
Just want to remind folks that October 13th will be the start of our Craig Road project, so we're pretty excited about getting that done. It should run 15 days, so we're looking at October 31st to complete that work. Hopefully it'll go quickly for us all.
Heather?
Oh, thank you very much. Just a couple of announcements. One is we did the ribbon cutting on the 26th for the 6th Avenue project. I really want to thank our council members for attending and speaking. Bineker, as well as Councilwoman Morton and Councilwoman Campbell all attended that meeting. We also had representation from our funders, so the Freight Mobility Stability were present, and coverage on KXLY for that event. Very much thank you, council members, for. I think that our funders couldn't be more pleased in their actual follow-up information about the project and sharing some of this. Asked us to some follow-up presentation, including to the FIMSIB. I also wanted to follow up on a letter that was received by the city council around the end of September. And this is a letter from Ms. Inman with regards to mail service along Avenue. I want to very much acknowledge the letter was received by the council members. Follow-up conversation with the United States Postal Service, with the postmaster. There actually was a meeting with the postmaster on the 23rd of September. This was with regards to information that 5 boxes, individual mailboxes along 6th Avenue, which had service suspended during construction were informed by the Postal Service that they were migrating those 5 individual boxes over to a community. Community box is a mailbox system, boxes for each of the residences. You can if you're on the north side of 6th Avenue at King or Aspen, as an example. Albert Tripp, city manager, and myself met with the postmaster to ask about this decision to boxes for these 5 individuals. Great conversation with him in his office with regards to policy of the post office with regards to how they do delivery, how they move out of the lane in order to service individual boxes, and the existing policy of the Postal Service. Office for several years has been implementing this existing policy. Boxes throughout Airway Heights, and we can see them. He was made aware of the concerns of residents about losing their individuals have today. We are aware, he indicated he was aware for other companies was continued 6th Avenue, but that the decision that 5 would be migrated over to the box at Aspen was already currently full by existing mail recipients. This Postal Service does require community boxes, but they do not install nor do they pay for these boxes. We talked through a variety of questions about the project, including the overall project safety, design, and delivery. Again, informed by Mr. Thomas that he was moving forward. Method moving forward 5 to a community box. So while the city doesn't have an ability to make the decision on behalf of the U.S. Postal Service about how and where they deliver mail, certainly the city understands about the impact as a result of this decision. We've reviewed this with the postmaster about options, and could be that there's a possibility of installing a new community box closer to the 5 homes that are being impacted by this change in Postal Service. We have identified a potential cost for the box itself. There would be some additional next steps should we consider this as an alternative, which is confirming the cost of the box, getting estimates on the installation of the box, proposing and having it accepted by the Postal Service to put this up. 5 homes that are impacted. And they're the impacted residents would find this as an acceptable solution because we certainly office is indicating the next closest service area would. We're bringing this forward to the council just as a follow-up to communication, what we've done to investigate this. Hopefully mitigate the impact, also knowing that the city how they deliver mail. So that's just an update on the letter and our intent to follow up with Mrs. that effect and look back from the council questions or
Anything from the council? We just appreciate you digging into it that far and meeting with the postmaster and everything else. So thank you.
Chief, my apologies for skipping you earlier.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and Council, it was our pleasure. Corporal Johnson, Corporal Ziegler, and Officer Davis assisted Dr. Dunbar and the WIN Network in that Amazon giveaway. I believe he had over 500 participants show up yesterday, which was incredible. So another follow-up to our last one where we had about 1,000. So the work they're doing in our community for those in need is incredible, and we're just grateful to be part of it. So a great event yesterday with our public safety team and the WIN Network at the Hope Center.
Zach? Elise?
Good evening, council. We have some really good news today. So as council president already talked about, I think that people are seeing the value of writing grants. So some couple exciting things. Rachel Grubb is starting tomorrow as our new grants and contracts manager. That could not have come anytime sooner because I also met with Cheney Public Schools and Medical Lake School District today. And they both agreed that they would like the city of Airway Heights to apply for the BJA Stop Grant. The BJA Stop Grant would be a 3-year grant. It would total $1 million for our community. And as the fiscal agent for that grant, that would come with a 15% indirect rate, which would benefit us with a total of $150,000 over 3 years, so 50 grand per year. As a reminder, indirect cost rates are free money to the city that they can use to help with payroll costs, the finance team, human resources, anything that has to do with administration. On top of that, I also met with the city of Medical Lake last week, and they agreed to partner with us on the new HERE grant. So as a reminder, the HERE grant, I showed you guys a video last year where we provide free home electric rebates to the community at no cost to our members as long as they're a small business or they meet 150% of the federal poverty level, which is actually quite high. It's over $100,000 for a family of 4. So since Medical Lake has agreed to partner with us on that grant, I'm planning to apply for $1 million. Again, with that grant, you can ask for 20% administration fee. So again, that would bring in $200,000 to the city. That would be free money that we could help support our financial department and also expand capacity. With that, I also wanted to let you know that we did submit our Community Care Hub grant last Wednesday to the Better Health Together Foundation. That was a $1.17 million grant that would support our Hope Center, our lead program, West Plains Victim Services. So I do have a video I want to show you guys. So part of the application, you had to submit a 3-minute video to show Better Health Together why they should pick you. As a reminder, they're picking 10 communities across the Eastern Washington to be a community care hub. This is guaranteed funding for the next 3 years. And I will say that I'm very proud of our region. I asked for letters of support and I received 27 letters of support, including every single city manager, mayor, Spokane Tribe of Indians, Fairchild Air Force Base, every school district, and multiple nonprofits and churches. So wanted to show you guys this very quick video. It's less than 3 minutes, but I think it will show you guys the power of what we're building in the West Plains.
Hi, my name is Ashley Martinez. I'm the lead case manager for the West Plains. LEAD stands for Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. The West Plains Safety Alliance offers a comprehensive system of care for their complex and ongoing needs for the region. That means everything from helping individuals locate emergency housing, income, food, healthcare, and positive social networks. Many of our program participants have unmanaged addictions, mental health challenges, and experience chronic homelessness. LEAD meets people where they are, their car, a coffee shop, you name it. But since opening the Hope Center, people in crisis can now come here to access not only LEAD, but a host of other programs, all aimed at healing the whole person. Since our grand opening in May of 2025, the West Plains Safety Alliance has worked with almost 80 individuals seeking case management to meet their unique needs. Let me show you around. When you walk in, you'll be greeted by an outreach specialist. Rachel Grubb knows how critical this one-stop is, with access to social service systems, law enforcement, victim advocates, clothing, and food.
When they come in, they're like, I can find clothes here. I have access to food. I have access to people who will listen to my story.
Clients can share their stories in our soft interview room. We work to help them be healthy, from finding stable housing, nutritious food, and steady income, to helping them navigate the court system if necessary. That's where our victim advocates come in. Pam DePriest has worked with victims for over 31 years. She's a part of the West Plains Victim Services that was established in January 2025.
When people come in, they don't even know sometimes what they need. They just know that they're in crisis.
Our advocates help people navigate both civil and criminal court, but they also assist with medical advocacy and transitional housing. Just down the hall, 2 detectives assigned by the Airway Heights Police Department. Everything we do here is meant to make it easier on people in crisis.
There is hope in just helping them negotiate those things, because it can be very overwhelming.
Thanks to a community partner, the Women's Healing Empowerment Network, we can offer clothing for adults and children. Our basement is filled with household goods, even dog and cat food, all free to whoever needs them. We offer a shower for our clients and a washer and dryer for their clothing. As you can see, the West Plains Safety Alliance is committed to creating a continuum of care for families and children. We are ready to become the next community care hub.
So anyways, I just want to thank you guys for believing in what we're trying to build in the West Plains. And I know that that takes a lot of effort for a city to take on such a big initiative. But what I would say is that our community partners are seeing that, and the fact that other cities and also school districts now are entrusting us to apply for these grants to make our region the safest and healthiest, that says a lot. So anyways, I hope that we get that grant, because that would be amazing. And I just thank you guys so much for believing and supporting what we're doing within my department.
Mr. Gibbons?
No report, thank you.
Right. And lastly, Albert.
Council, I too will just want to thank you for the support in establishing the grants department. As you can see, it's having tremendous dividends for the city and the rest of the region. Separately, I just wanted to note of the meeting, Heather Troutman and Catherine Miller and I had an opportunity to, Director Joe Wynn. He's a director for Washington State Department of Commerce, and in that particular role, I think the portfolio he oversees is about $1 billion, probably the largest on the state level. But it's got a sprawling set of different programs that they're managing on behalf of Washington State. And so our goal in visiting with him this past week at the Spokane Tribe Casino was to talk with him about some of the key initiatives the city's exploring, and to identify connection points, opportunities of alignment with the agency that he oversees, and talk about opportunities for collaboration. We had a chance to discuss some of those this past week, and we'll continue to have those conversations and look for ways in which we might help each other enhance service, either at the state level or city level, using those different programs that they offer. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tripp. And I don't see any call for any public hearings this evening. I'm gonna move us into item 9, which is our consent agenda. Item A of the consent agenda is the approval of minutes for September 15th, 2025. Item B is going to be the approval of minutes for our September 22nd meeting. And then item C is the purchase approval registry of the Part 2 Payne Hamlin in the amount of $40,433. And then the accounts payable approval registry in the amount of $664,407.62. Council, what would we like to do about tonight's consent agenda?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Any questions or comments? I am not seeing any. All those in favor? That passed unanimously. That'll move us on to our action items. The first item is going to be item E, which is the fire command staff job description amendment. Mr. Tripp, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair and Council, last week, Chief Metzger discussed how historically the city had not had fire personnel enough to be able to provide for the different calls. And so that involved the assistant chief, fire marshal, and fire training chief responding to those calls in addition as well. While they were doing that particular work, they were technically considered within their bargaining group, but at the point that the community passed the bond measure to allow for the hiring of additional firefighters, it meant that there's enough fire staff that these 3 different positions no longer needed to respond to emergency calls. And so the modifications we're asking council to approve tonight would be to modify the assistant fire chief, fire marshal, and fire training chief's job description to reflect that they're no longer hourly, but rather an exempt position.
Council, what would we like to do about the fire command staff job description amendment? I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right, thank you. Any questions or comments for Albert on this? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. That'll move us on to item F, which is the contract and training with Swift Comply for the city backflow program. Ms. Miller, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Item F, we briefed at the last study session on September 22nd. This is a work order that we would like to enter into that will allow us to have Swift Comply create a portal for folks to get on and actually pay their backflow fee once the actual test has been completed. We've been using that software just to have them report the actual test results. And again, this update will allow them to not only report it, but also pay for it at the same time. We feel that the streamlining will make it more customer friendly in terms of being able to process and obtain that program fee that we do need to obviously run the program. So looking tonight to get authority to sign this work order. This also comes with a $2,000 training, which is a one-time training for our staff to be able to process the backside of these payments.
All right, council, what would we like to do about the contract and training with Swift Comply for the city backflow program?
Move to approve.
Motion, do I have a second? Thank you. Macho, any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? That passed unanimously.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, next one is going to be the acceptance of the art grant. Ms. Munadi, the floor is all yours.
All right, so this is very exciting, guys. So you actually got to meet Rachel, which I kind of forgot she was in that video. So Rachel has been our Eastern intern since January, and she's getting her master's degree in social work and public administration. And so I talked to Jacob, and This particular grant would give us $235,462.75. Unfortunately, just because of the state budget, it didn't come very quickly. It was supposed to start July 1, and then it would end June 30th. But the good news is we can do back pay, right? We can ask for reimbursement. So this particular grant would pay for the fringe benefits of Officer Kayla Ilsley, which is great because that means now that position is 100% paid for by grants. This would also pay for the fringe benefits for Cheney's crisis response team officer, Maria Fell. So she too would be completely paid by grants now. This would also pay 20% of my salary and benefits. So now I'm 100% paid for. And then this would also be able to hire a full-time lead case manager, which would be Rachel. And then that means now instead of before when we asked for, and that job description's already been approved because we already have one for Ashley. So that would build us capacity. And then with the savings from that grant, we also could even provide we could even hire a part-time outreach worker. Or my other idea is we could even provide stipends for our interns from Eastern as well. So right now we have one intern from Eastern, and then we're getting a couple more from Gonzaga as well. So we could even provide them like a $2,500 stipend to help us at the Hope Center. So it gives us more capacity, which was my goal, right? Because in order to have more grants, we have to have more people, right, to support that. So I'm really excited that we were given this opportunity. So if you guys have any questions, I can answer anything about that, but I'm hoping that you guys could approve this award so that Albert can execute a contract for us.
Any questions for Ms. Munati? Not seeing any. All right. Council, what would we like to do about the acceptance of the art grant for $235,462.75?
Move to approve acceptance of the art grant.
Motion for Ms. Morton. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any more questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that too passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Munati, for that. All your hard work and dedication. It's incredible what the team's doing. It really is.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you guys letting me keep applying for grants.
We could only have 10 more of you. All right, that'll move us on to item H, which is going to be the approval of the Planning Commission applicant. Mr. Becker, the floor is all yours.
So tonight we have Mr. Michael Young here. If you ask any questions or misread the statements you'd like to make. At the conclusion of that, we would ask that you consider the appointment of the.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael Young. I'm in computers. Absolutely love going ice. Part of it is one of the fusion goes. That's about it. All I can say for myself. Is there any questions that you might want to?
What do you like about Airway Heights?
Pardon?
What do you like about Airway Heights?
In the years that I have been here, I have seen Airway Heights grow. That's amazing. And I've always dealt in the future, and I see nothing but the future. And I'd like to be part of it.
Thanks.
That's all.
Mr. Young? Mr. Young?
Yeah.
Now,
Don't mean to cut you off.
it's all right. How long have you been a resident of Airway Heights?
In Airway Heights? 3.5.
Where were you coming from?
Well, I hate to admit it, but way back when, before 73, I was in California.
Oh, boy. Oh, that killed it right there.
I'm strictly a Washington.
I say easy there, Jesse. You know where your chair comes from too. I'm also from California originally. Wow.
No, I used to work for the state of California Department of Corrections, so I was down there for a while. Yeah.
I was in Election Lake. Lake Hills.
Oh, Lake Elson.
Lake Hills, I was on the planning commission there. I also volunteered in the police department. On night watch and also the beach watch, which was interesting because people park there thinking that they're at the lake and they come back and find their car or their RV floating away. We're the ones that call everybody in and get them out.
And if I'm not mistaken, that is just south of, headed down towards LA. That's just south of the Grapevine, correct?
Well, you got five and then you continue on. Down,
Right.
Yeah. And you're at the end of the world there. Every side of town. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Highway, what, 91, right?
You're right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we flew on Hughes's aircraft, which was interesting, because we had to go from there into Las Vegas and then Las Vegas up to here. And it was quite a trip.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for stepping up. I mean, it's the planning commission. I mean, that's where I started as well, getting involved with the city. I mean, on top of being a coach here locally, and thanks to Mr. Tripp, almost 15 years ago, he encouraged me to become a member of the planning commission, and then from there on, it's just been incredible in the amount of stuff that I've learned. So thank you for stepping up to the plate. We definitely need those positions. And it's something that, we really do lean on you guys for your expertise and for all your hard work and dedication. And I mean, it makes our jobs up here on the dais and, a lot easier when we have all the information in front of us. So just thank you, sir, for doing that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. With that being said, what would the council like to do about Mr. Young's application to the planning commission? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? That passed unanimously. Welcome to the planning commission. And then with that, go all the way back up here. All right, that'll move us into ordinance. We have a first reading of ordinance C-1099. This will require a second reading at a later time, but go ahead and open the floor to you. Suppose for the first reading.
Certainly. Would you like me to describe what this is for?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So this is a state requirement. They asked us to change the exemption to the requirement for a business license for entities who do not maintain a place of business in the city used to be less than 2,000 and now to be less than 4,000. So the reading for ordinance C-1099, an ordinance of the city of Airway Heights, Washington, amending section 5.04.040 of the Airway Heights Municipal Code and other matters properly related thereto.
All right, well, thank you. I assume we'll hear back for a second reading in the next few weeks on this, Mr. Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for clarification, we're actually asking council to consider passing this with a single reading this evening, just due to the timing.
All right, council, what would we like to do about ordinance C-1099?
Move to suspend the rules and allow passage on first read.
All right, a motion to suspend the rules and a motion second on the suspending the rules. All those in favor? All right, that passed. And then the motion initially for passing ordinance C-1099. I got a first. Do I have a second on that? I do have a second on that. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that too passed unanimously. All right, that'll move us on to item J for resolutions. And this is going to be resolution 2025-018 for road and place naming policy. Thank you, Mr. Becker, for all your hard work on this. I know it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. The intent is to provide everybody with a set of standards. Public spaces, roads. This was originally brought up in June. It was at study session of September 22nd.
All right, and then would you like to go ahead and read it in the record?
Resolution number 2025-018, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, authorizing the adoption of a policy on road and place naming.
All right, thank you much. Is there any questions or comments on this to Mr. Becker? Seeing any? All right, council, what would we like to do about the road and place naming policy for resolution 2025-018?
Move to approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second? All right, thank you, Mr. Campbell. Any questions or comments? I'm not seeing any. All right, all those in favor? All right, that too passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Becker. Now to move us on to item K, which is resolution 2025-023, setting public hearing for the vacation of 16th Avenue. Ms. Miller, the floor is yours.
Thank you, council. Yes, this resolution is to set a hearing. The request is a vacation of 16th Avenue. Vacation hearing requested for November 3rd. We will be having a follow-up study session on October 14th to talk it through.
All right, so on this one, Ms. Miller, or suppose if we can go ahead and read that in the record.
Resolution number 2025-023, a resolution of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, setting a public hearing for consideration of a petition to vacate a portion of the 16th Avenue right-of-way.
All right, and then Mr. Tripp, do you want to speak to this or you think we're good?
I'll defer to Ms. Miller, but council, this particular item, it was previously on your agenda. And there was previous conversation about the impacts that the vacation ordinance, or excuse me, the roadway vacation would have upon the surrounding properties that are also located within the same area. So this is a further refinement of that we're bringing back for consideration.
All right, any questions for Ms. Miller? Seeing any? All right, council, what would you like to do about the resolution for setting a public hearing for the vacation of 16th Avenue?
Move to approve.
A motion, do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that too passed unanimously, sorry. And that'll bring us on to item 13, which is going to be the TBD audit expense. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Just requesting council consideration to approve the check number 58278 in the amount of $3,491.50 to reflect the work performed by the State Auditor's Office for the audit years 2021 through 2024.
Council, any questions or comments? All right, what would we like to do about item L?
Move to approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? That passed unanimously. I don't see any additional citizen comments. No call for a workshop, executive session, so we will adjourn the meeting at 6:38 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Sweet.